What fascinates me about the game industry is its refusal to learn from its own history. For those up to speed on the discussion about loot boxes, know that certain companies are trying to defend it against accusations of it being, well, gambling. One thing I see lacking in the discussion is talk about the game industry's history. It's very, very early history. I guess maybe possibly forgotten history? Well, it isn't forgotten by me. You see, the reason why I think it's important to look at history is because the association of games with gambling mechanics isn't new. In matter of fact, it almost killed the game industry in its infancy, or its pre-infancy, almost. I'm talking about the history of pinball machines. The person who paved the way for modern video games was David Gottlieb and his creation of Pinball. And he was also the man who eventually had to prove that pinball wasn't a game of chance. The original pinball machine had no flippers and only one moving part, the plunger. Even so, the machine quickly grew as a form of entertainment for kids. It became quite popular, and with popularity, also imitators followed. It was from one of these imitators that an invention that frightened Gottlieb was created, the infamous payout pinball machines. Slot machine makers took notice of the popularity of pinball and created their own versions, the aforementioned payout machines. These versions of pinball blended pinball mechanics with gambling slot machine mechanics, and Gottlieb feared that this would cause politicians to ban everything that even resembled these new pinball slot machines. And ultimately, he was proven right. The 1930s were a crime-conscious era, and many politicians made banning gambling as one of their campaign talking points. One such politician was the then mayor of New York, Fiorello LaGuardia. He campaigned heavily against pinball machines and eventually managed to get them banned. After the ban, pinball machines were gathered at a press conference by the mayor, and he destroyed them in front of a cheering audience with a sledgehammer. The event was then shown in theaters across the entire country. By destroying pinball machines, he had literally destroyed gambling in the eyes of himself and his admirers. That is where the association with gambling eventually led. The ban lasted for a whole 35 years. After New York banned pinball machines, other counties and eventually countries followed suit. In many places, pinball machines are still illegal and considered gambling, never being able to rid themselves of their association with gambling. For those who know more about the game industry's history, you know that pinball machines were the precedents to arcade machines. So you might be wondering right now, how did pinball machines get unbanned? And the answer to that is the same answers to what caused their creation in the first place: the hard work of David Gottlieb. Gottlieb was the Henry Ford of pinballs, and he wouldn't let his life's work be destroyed by opportunist casino owners. So he spent years trying to find a way to prove to legislators that pinball was a game based on skill and not chance. With the help of one of his engineers, Harry Mabs, he changed the design of the pinball machine to include 6 spring-loaded levers, which is still a staple of the modern pinball machine. These spring-loaded levers could be controlled by the player and allow the player to have more control over making sure the ball didn't drop in the hole at the bottom. By giving the players more control over the outcome of the game, he managed to prove that they were skill-based. And without his hard work, it is likely that pinball machines would still have been illegal to this very day. An arcade machine might never have been invented simply because of its association with pinball. That is how dangerous the association with gambling is. The game industry has survived politicians trying to ban games based on their violence, but they cannot survive this. The game industry can try to play chicken with history, but it's going to lose. Trying to defend gambling mechanics is not a fight this industry can win.